I have noticed a few things along the way that I think you're going to find are absolutely perfect and relevant in your Pampered Chef business and the way that you build your business as a leader. And I don't think I'm just making this up. I am speaking from just a little taste of experience. I have had a little bit of a taste of your world. If I could have the slide up there for a moment. There's. So, guess which one is me? All right, so this is at Christina Cunningham's. Oh, there you are. Oh, where is she? You're a twin. Yeah, you do look kind of like her. She was amazing. Cooking show was phenomenal. And it was also my first opportunity to meet Jean, albeit in itty-bitty form. Now that I've had a chance to meet her live, it's quite a striking resemblance, I would say. So I have, what I want to share with you, I think you're going to find is maybe a little bit provocative for some of you in the way that you think about your business. For others of you, I think what we'll talk about here is a confirmation of who you already are, what you already do, how you already approach your work. And it just sounds good, it just feels good every so often to have an objective source come along and say, that's good, keep doing that. And yet for others of you, I think what you're going to find is that what we're going to talk about here this afternoon is a confirmation of impulses that you've had, instincts that you've had, but maybe have not acted on or acted on fully for whatever reason. You thought that people would think you're nuts or whatever. And getting this confirmation might embolden you to step up and act on your impulses. So let me start with just to dispel a quick myth about leadership. You know, in the corporate world where I spend a lot of my time, there's a very prevailing idea that leadership is all about your position and your title, right? That leadership is about where you sit in your company's chart, it's about the title that you have on your business card. And I think perhaps I'm stating the obvious when I say that leadership fundamentally has got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with your position or title. It's got nothing to do with how many people are in your organization or not. It's got nothing to do with how many people report to you. It's got everything to do with who you are, what you do, how you approach your work, how you approach your life, and your ability to influence people around you to change the nature of things for the better. That's really what leadership is. Would you agree? Yes. And I'll try to be polite about this. I've met some people over the years that sit very prominently in their company's organizational charts and have very lofty and impressive sounding titles, have thousands and thousands of people in their organization that still have, and this is the polite part, a bit of work to do as far as their leadership goes. You know what I mean? And the other side of that coin is probably even more important. I can't tell you how many people I've met that have no positional authority whatsoever. They're right there on the front line doing the work, and they're great leaders. Again, by virtue of how they approach their work. So let me share with you what I don't claim that this is 100% of what leadership is, but this is the foundational element of what I've come to call extreme leadership. The extreme leader is somebody, in my estimation, who's the real leader, because leadership by its nature is already an extreme thing. Leadership is about the act of transformation in some way or another. It's about taking people to places they've never been before, literally and figuratively. It's about stretching and growing our own skills and capabilities and doing that for the people around us. I mean, this is already extreme stuff. So the extreme leader, the real leader, is somebody who, in my estimation, understands this dynamic. And my friend Terry Pierce, an executive coach, I think he put it beautifully. He said there are many people who think they want to be matadors, only to find themselves in the ring with 2,000 pounds of bull bearing down them, and then discover that what they really wanted was to wear tight pants and hear the crowd roar. It's not about your position. It's not about your title. It's not about dressing oneself up in the clothes of a leader. The real leader, the extreme leader, is somebody who strives to take what I've come to call a radical leap day in and day out. So this is the extreme leader's roadmap, framework, agenda, manifesto, operating system, whatever you'd like to call it. And it stands for love, energy, audacity, and proof. The extreme leader with conscious intent cultivates love, generates energy, inspires audacity, and ultimately proves him or herself every day. Now, let's start with the one that is, at least in the context of work, at least in the context of business, is considered by many to be, shall we say, a little bit provocative. Many of us are not accustomed to using this word, to using the word love in the same sentence as business. And frankly, I think that is at the very least short-sighted and most likely even tragic. To say that love has no place in business is insane. To say that love has no place in business is a fundamental misunderstanding of what human beings are about. Not only is love not inappropriate in the context of your business, it's at the very foundation of what your business is. And it's at the very foundation of who you are as a leader, or should be as a leader. And it's at the foundation of any great, thriving, competitive business. And, you know, lest you think this is some kind of California touchy-feely hoo-ha crap, let me just tell you that I live in California, I can say that. This is not touchy-feely stuff. This is hardcore business. And listen, I'm a business guy. When you strip it all away, I'm a business guy. So I've been on my soapbox about this idea that love is at the foundation of business for quite some time. And I share this with you with no hesitation whatsoever. I suspect that with many of you, I'm preaching to the choir on this. But I will tell you that I believe listen, I'm willing to be wrong about any of this stuff. I just don't think I'm wrong about this. So there's no embarrassment with me in using this word. But I'll also, I'll admit that I wasn't always quite so bold about this. When I first started using this language with business people, it made me a little bit nervous, I have to say. I didn't know how this was going to fly. But I remember one of the first conferences that I shared this idea with and used this language with, I was speaking at a conference of 1,000 engineers. Why are you laughing? Anybody here an engineer by training? Anybody married to an engineer, been around engineers, working engineers? Okay, good. All right, so there's a stereotype about engineers, right? The stereotype is, I'm an engineer, I don't do that people thing. Keep the people out of my way so I can get my job done around here. I know it's just a stereotype. I've done lots of work with engineers and scientists over the years, so I know it's not true. It's not generally true, but it still made me nervous when I'm standing up in front of 1,000 of these people from the internet and telecom industry, and I was talking about love, you know. So I didn't know if this was going to fly, so I was being hypersensitive to the body language because I wanted to make sure I was connecting. And from what I could tell, I was actually getting through pretty well. And a couple days later, I got back to my office. And I had an email from somebody in that group who was a manager of LAN technicians, network guys. And at least I got through to him, because he wrote to tell me. He said, hey, you know that love stuff you were talking about? He said, you're right on, man. He said, I've been telling my guys this since the day I became a manager 10 years ago. And I thought you'd appreciate seeing it in his own words. Here's the way he said it. I've told my technicians to make the customer absolutely love you, take you home to dinner, love you, meet the wife and kids, love you, because if the customer loves you, you can blow up their building and they'll say accidents happen. Probably not the best business strategy, by the way. But it does tell us something really interesting about the nature of the customer experience. Now, and again, I would hope that you guys already know this, but let me say it anyway, because I don't think it can be repeated too much. I grew up in a generation, as many of you did, where as a business person, I was trained to believe that customer satisfaction was the most important thing. A satisfied customer is the core of your business. Would it surprise you to know that customer satisfaction doesn't mean anything? Customer satisfaction doesn't mean squat anymore. There's no competitive advantage in creating a satisfactory experience for a customer. So when somebody comes to one of your cooking shows and they walk away satisfied, are you satisfied? I would suggest to you that the answer should be no. And the reason is this. Customer satisfaction is a baseline expectation wherever we go nowadays. We all expect it. Every time we buy a product or we buy a service, we expect to be satisfied. Therefore, there's no longer any competitive advantage in creating a satisfactory experience for customers. But when they love us, that's when the good things happen, right? When they love the experience of coming to one of your shows, when they love the experience of sitting down with you face to face, when they love the Pampered Chef products, they buy more of them. They tell more people about them, right? It's love. To say that love has no place in business is insane. It's not enough to satisfy people. We want them to love us. This should be at the core of everything that we do and in the way that we work. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right, now, here's the thing. I see this idea played out over and over again in business, in all kinds of aspects, and sometimes in surprising places. I was, as you can imagine, I travel quite a bit. Last summer, on a trip to Boston, I was there, actually got there a day early, which doesn't often happen for me, work out for me in my travel schedule. And I took advantage of this extra day to take care of some business back at work. So I checked into my hotel, and I realized that I had to get a couple of documents notarized. Now, I was in Boston to speak to the senior management team of Sovereign Bank. So Sovereign Bank is a regional bank. There is no Sovereign Bank out in San Diego, so I'd never been in one. Now, I did do my research ahead of time, and I talked to some of the senior executives before I came out there, but I'd never been in a Sovereign Bank. And I went to the concierge of the hotel to ask if they had a notary, and he said, no, we have no notary here, but you know what? There's a Sovereign Bank branch office right across the street, and they have a notary there. So I'm thinking, cool. I could do a little field research, be a little bit of ghost customer, head across the street and get my business taken care of at the same time. So I strolled across the street. It was a small branch. I walked in. There were only two tellers sitting side by side. I went up to teller number 1, and I asked for the notary, and she pointed me to teller number 2. She said, oh, that would be Rosella over here. She's also a notary. She can take care of you. So I said, okay, great. Thank you very much. I stepped over to Rosella's window, and we started transacting the notary public business. You know how it is. Driver's license, sign this, stamp that. And we were making small talk about the weather and whatnot, the usual stuff that characterizes small talk. Now, what I need you guys to understand is I didn't say anything to Rosella about what I was doing there. I didn't tell Rosella that the next afternoon I was going to be speaking to her boss's boss, or whatever. I didn't say anything to Rosella about my philosophy of leadership. It was just sign, stamp, that's all it was, for several minutes. And finally, when she stamped the last stamp, I asked her a question that I've asked many notaries over the years. I said, thank you very much. How much do I owe you? And she said, oh, you don't owe me anything. This is just the service that we provide for our customers. And I said, well, Rosella, I'm not a customer. And she said, oh, that's okay. Maybe you will be someday. And that's what I said. Maybe not like that. Exactly. No, but I thought that was pretty cool. I said, that's pretty awesome. And then I was just struck with this little flash of inspiration to ask her this question. I said, hey, Rosella, would you mind telling me, how do you like working here? What's it like working here at Sovereign Bank? And I'm not exaggerating. There was no hesitation. Her face lit up, and she said, I love it. I love it. And she had this lovely island accent, which I'm not going to try to imitate. But then she started telling me about how, what the other banks that she'd worked at before, and how this place is different, and people really care for each other, and how, her customers come in, and she knows all about them, and they know about her, and sometimes they just come in to say hello. And now I have this odd habit when people start telling me things like that I think is really particularly interesting and relates to my work, I start taking notes, right? So I'm like, jot this down, go back to these documents. And so I'm confident that when I tell you that this is word for word one of the things that she said. She said, I love my customers, and I get great pleasure from serving them, so I'm happy. And she was explaining how it goes around. I love them, so they love me back, and I love them, and just on and on and on. I thought it was just wonderful. So now I'm thinking ahead to this meeting tomorrow afternoon, and I said, hey, Rosella, would you mind if I quoted you on that? And she said, would you like me to notarize it? What do you think I said?
Yes.
Yes, I would. Yes, he did. That's the back of Rosella's business card. Now, here's the thing. I share this with you. Oh, by the way, the reason you're seeing this on the slide is because I took a picture of it. I put it in my PowerPoint deck. I showed it to the senior team the following day. The boss was so impressed with Rosella that he went across the street, said thank you to her, and you think she loves the place even more now? I think so. On and on it goes. To say that love has no place in business is nuts. It just makes sense. Now, here's the thing. We know it should be intuitively obvious that we want our customers, you want your customers to love Pampered Chef. You want them to host for you. You want them, that's how you recruit people. That's how they become consultants, because they love the possibilities. They love what they can do for their lives. They love the products. I understand that you get all that. At least you